Welcome back. Joining us now for weather is Drew Lerner of World Weather. Drew, when you look at some of the areas of the country right now that are just getting inundated with moisture, more moisture came this week.
Yeah, absolutely. The rain continues to hound many areas in the U.S. And instead of focusing on the Delta and the lower Ohio River Valley like we did 2 weeks ago, now the focus has been shifted into Missouri and parts of Oklahoma. Those areas are definitely really wet. Other parts of the Midwest have really benefited greatly by the precipitation that has occurred recently. That would be Iowa and Minnesota, parts of the eastern Dakotas, and on into the heart of the Midwest. Those areas still were carrying some moisture deficits. And so we've done a good job in starting to whittle that down a little bit.
Yeah, so when you look at the pattern that we're seeing right now, is it similar to any other year in history?
Absolutely. I've noticed a very strong parallel to 1968. If we look at the percent of normal charts that are occurring so far this year, this year we have seen a lot of precipitation that has been wetter biased in parts of the Delta and the Ohio River Basin area, and we've also seen it in the upper parts of the Midwest. So you can see that on this chart. You're looking at 1968. The lines that I've drawn on there is pretty much where I think we're going to be by the time we finish out May. So everything inside the blue lines across Missouri and eastern Kansas into Illinois, those areas will be wetter as we move forward through these next few weeks, but it will stay wet in the Delta and the Tennessee River Basin area. And we will also see some increase in soil moisture across the northern plains as we go forward in time. The similarities to 1968 are very interesting. And because there is such a parallel, we probably ought to look at the summer of 1968 as well, so that we can kind of get an idea what happened in that particular time period. And in the background here, you can see the wetter bias for a big part of the northern plains, parts of the upper Midwest. There's also a tendency here for the southern plains to be wet biased. This is all what occurred in 1968. What's most of interest on this chart here is the drier bias that showed up in 1968 in the Delta and the Tennessee River Basin, the very same areas that have been so wet here in recent weeks. And if indeed we are going to continue to parallel 1968, we could in fact end up with a drier summer in some of those areas. And I've drawn on this particular map the areas that I think that will likely see some changes, some deviation from 1968. In this case, part of the Central Plains should be a little drier too. We won't be quite as dry in the middle Atlantic and northeastern states, but across the northern plains, I do think it's going to be a good year. Canada's prairies, I think, will do really well, but I do think that we're not going to be quite as wet as we were in 1968, but it'll still be timely rain and beneficial there. So the bottom line, I think most of the western part of the Corn Belt, as well as the central part of the Midwest, will do fairly well, but we are going to probably turn this boat around a little bit and end up with some dryness in parts of the lowermost Midwest, the Delta, and the interior parts of the southeastern states as we get into the summer season.
Okay, I mean, we've been talking about concerns about drought and dryness in the Western Corn Belt, but you are saying that possibly we could see that pattern shifting into summer?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be quite as dry in the middle of the country as what's feared. We will see a drier tendency here in the second half of May and into early June. And we'll wait until the monsoon season kicks in. That's in July, when the moisture source will come up from the southwestern part of the country. That moisture will flow northward through the Rocky Mountains and up around a ridge of high pressure that'll probably be centered on the plains and bring scattered showers and thunderstorms to both the northern plains and portions of the upper Midwest. Now, I think the situation should be favorable, but we'll go through a short-term period where there is dryness around and some heat, and that again will occur in the latter part of spring and early days of summer. And then I think we'll shift things around so that those areas start getting rain while the Delta and the lower Midwest start to dry out a little bit, along with the central parts of the plains.
Very fascinating. Drew Lerner of World Weather. Thanks so much. All right, up next, Naomi Bloom has done her homework, showing over the past 17 years when the high for corn prices typically hits during the summer months. It's fascinating. Naomi and Mark Gold join us for markets next.